What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Stay Hot. I'm Bladen Kirk, joined as always by the two greatest co-hosts of all time, and Matthew Sponhour and Theo Ash. We have an awesome show planned for you all today. We're going to do a little bit of a new segment where we go head-to-head and debate various topics in a new segment we call Stay Hot Spar. We'll see if the name sticks. We'll see if you all like that name. Then we're going to preview the NFL games from Week 11 and, of course, talk about some of the hottest NBA teams right now, and then maybe we'll finish out with maybe Theo's betting shenanigans are back at it again. But how are you guys today, man? How are you guys?
I'm powering through. Getting over the flu sick right now. Yeah. Getting a flu shot's one of those errands that really sucks to go do. And my parents had just nagged me about it like a week before this happened, so I'm sure they feel very justified right now, and they are. I should have gotten one.
You could have gotten the Antonio Brown route and faked one.
Yeah.
Get a
but I was honest. I told them I didn't get it, and I'm paying the price right now. But I'm starting to feel better. I should be good to go for the Cincinnati game this weekend, so I can't be mad.
Yeah, Matt was questionable for this podcast. We got a text a couple days ago. He was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to go on Thursday.
I almost tweeted out that I was doubtful.
Yeah, doubtful. That would have been a funny tweet.
It would have been
a funny
non-COVID illness.
That's Sponhour questionable.
Anyway,
did not
he's gonna go Michael Jordan flu game on us here in this argument segment. Though I'm even more scared of Matt now. And
you have
I'm best when I'm powering through trials and tribulations.
even though we all can we talk about how the flu game? He didn't have the flu.
Well, no,
he said he didn't have the flu.
He said it was food poisoning.
Food poisoning.
I'm not going to speak on whether or not that's true, but nobody should have ever believed that he played with like a fever of 102 and dropped 38 in the finals. I know he's a world-class athlete, but guy
it would
is
have been
human.
Dangerous to his teammates to have him around. If he had the flu, the whole team could have gotten it.
My proof of that is that I had a fever of 102 and I had the flu and it didn't feel good. And if I
could not have dropped 38
I couldn't
in the
have
finals.
dropped 38 in the finals. So
if you were healthy,
there's no way he did.
There's literally no way. But as always, make sure you all like, subscribe, leave a review, do all the great things you've been doing to help grow this podcast on all platforms. And if you haven't yet, make sure you follow @StayHotPod on TikTok for some great content there, as well as we are well on the road to 100K followers. Theo keeps meaning to review the Ed Sheeran album. He has not yet, but we are doing the Ed Sheeran Hat Giveaway.
Myself to do it.
We are doing the Ed Sheeran Hat Giveaway to a bunch of our YouTube subscribers, so make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. And we're going to be picking some more winners in the coming days. And at the end of this podcast, so stay tuned, we're going to be announcing 5 more winners. But let's hop into this new segment. And basically the way this is going to work is, like I described earlier, we're going to go head-to-head in a bunch of different topics. So in the first one, Theo is going to be the announcer and the judge. So the way this works is one of us announces and judges and the other two debate. So Theo announces and judges the first one, and he will announce the topic right now.
I will announce the topic right now and judge the topic. And the topic is the Rams and their team building strategy. Obviously, what is it? They haven't made a first round pick since Jared Goff. They've been trading away all their picks to go all in right now. And since they've done it, they're 0-2. So do you two think that this is a good, healthy way to go about building a team? Like, will this be the new wave? Or is there a reason that no one has really done this before? So, Bladen and Matt, do you like the Rams team building strategy?
I do not. It's not that it can't work. It's that it's like inefficient. Are the Rams far and away the favorites right now? No, they could win the Super Bowl. It wouldn't surprise me at all. That's not what I'm saying. But they have spent way more future assets than every other team. And they're not way far ahead of every other contender right now. They've got way more skin in the game. There's plenty of teams right now that have built contenders. I mean, the Bucks and the Cardinals built contenders without sacrificing their next 5 first-round draft picks. I mean, yeah, spending, the picks to go get Stafford in a vacuum, not a bad move, but it kind of strikes me as the type of thing that a team would do that is just not that great at drafting. That's what it seems like to me. So, I mean, right now you're looking at a team that doesn't, I mean, I don't know how many picks they're missing right now in total for the future, but they're a wild card team at the moment. So, like, it could work. They are a contending team, but they've spent more than everybody else to become that. So I think it's probably not worked as well as you would have liked it to, even if they do end up winning the Super Bowl, because they have put themselves in a position to, do something like that.
I think I can. Here's the thing: is you kind of negated my whole argument already, which is that
Matt wins. Wow, what a
Nice.
Matt kind of negated my whole argument, which is that like the Rams put themselves in a position, and maybe I'm a little bit biased as a Browns fan, where it's like, okay, we're not going to set ourselves up to draft someone who might end up being bad. We're just going to go get someone who we already know is good. I've lived through enough of drafting somebody who it's like, well, we thought this guy was good, and it's like, no, he ended up being horrible. And you go through that over and over again, where instead you can just trade for Jalen Ramsey, trade for Stafford, trade for Von Miller, go get these guys that you're already confident in, instead of trying to go out. Like, they when they went inside, they even traded for Aqib Talib at one point, and Marcus Peters, right? Like in the earlier stages. Right, they didn't give up a lot for those, but like you're looking at 4th round picks. It's like, are you going to get that fourth? Are you going to get a high value corner with a 4th round pick? Kind of the same thing with, I guess the only good pick that didn't turn into like a super great player. I mean, maybe like Brandon Cooks is the only guy that like maybe didn't turn out. Yeah. But like everyone else, I feel like has done everything that you've expected of them, and that's kind of the whole goal. Is that you go out and you get guys that you know what they're capable of, instead of going out and getting guys that you're like, well, this is what we think they can do.
True. I mean, the superior strategy is just drafting good. That's really the name of the game in the NFL.
just
for
be
team
good
building.
at drafting.
But the unseen consequences that you have to pay the guys too. You don't have to pay guys that you draft nearly as much. So it's not just that they gave up draft picks to go get players who are already good, but they gave up draft picks and they paid them. And then that ends up losing you guys like Josh Johnson, right? The safety, and guys like that. So it does kind of limit you in that way. But like if it doesn't work out for the Rams, they've put themselves in a position where it seems like it's going to be really tough for them to build a contending team for a long time. And I think that'd be a pretty bad barrel to be staring down as a fan of the Rams, even though they are a good contending team. If it doesn't work out, the penalty for them is so much higher than it is for other teams. And they're not even the number 1 team in their division right now. I think it's too much.
I suppose that's...
Oh, and like the Von Miller trade?
To add? I don't know if like, are you allowed to invade into this discussion, or like, do you think you've heard enough to judge?
I think I've heard enough.
I think you're the judge.
I am the judge.
I've heard enough.
Bladen, I think you had good points, but you can't concede your argument before you've made it.
I didn't concede. I was just like, this dude came out. This dude came out my argument before it existed.
The debate. I've got to give Matt the debate W here. Although, Bladen, I did like some of the things that you were saying. So that is my judgment as the judge.
All right.
Fair enough. Fair enough, baby. Big win.
So Matt got the win in the first one, and now you have to judge for the second one.
I have to judge for the second one?
Yeah.
What is the topic? I'm dead serious.
I believe the topic is, are the Patriots real contenders in the AFC?
It's going to be Patriots.
Are the Patriots real contenders in the AFC?
Bladen, how about you start this time, since you didn't last time?
Just in case your entire argument gets torn apart before you get to speak.
All right. Well, we've talked previously about how the Bills and Titans are probably the 2 top contenders in the AFC right now. But the way the Patriots have grown this year, and the way they just tore apart the Browns and they're tearing apart the Falcons, I can see why people would think they're a contender. I don't know if I trust I don't know how much I trust that team long term. I feel like you get into the playoffs with, a team like with a quarterback like Mac Jones, who, he's been playing well this year, but I would much rather have. There's a lot of quarterbacks in the AFC I think I'd rather have. Obviously Mahomes, obviously Herbert, maybe Baker. I don't know, maybe Baker, but I'd rather have Mahomes, I'd rather have Herbert, I'd rather have Lamar. And I think you get into late in the season and you're gonna start to struggle a little bit with Mac Jones at quarterback, and I think some of these other teams are going to start to get a little bit better. And I think that's going to be the Patriots' biggest flaw is the lack of experience.
Yeah, I mean, tonight they're playing the Falcons and the offense hasn't looked that good. They've only put up 16 points so far. So I can definitely see the offense being the big hindrance there. But man, I look at this defense and they might be the best defense in the league right now. They are so good. Stars across the board. They've got Duggar playing out of his mind tonight so far. They've got McCourty. They've got J.C. Jackson in the secondary. That's a good unit. In the front seven, Dante Hightower, one of the most underrated players of the last decade, is knocking some of the rust off and really coming back into form so far. Barmore, the rookie defensive tackle, has been putting up tons of pressures this year. He's a really good interior presence. Judon is already hit 10 sacks. So on defense, they are really starting to shut some teams down. And you saw with the Browns last week. Really solid unit, really solid coaching. Now, the offense is very sketchy to me, but I look at the teams around the AFC, and it's like, okay, the Titans are the number one seed right now. And it's like, you look at the Titans and the Patriots side to side. Coaching, probably the Patriots, I would say. I think that is fair. Quarterback, I would give it to the Titans, but, Mac Jones and Ryan Tannehill are both kind of game manager-y type of guys. I don't know if the gap is super, super, super big. Mac Jones has stepped in and really done a nice job kind of managing that offense and really looking comfortable in that system. Skill position players right now, I would give it to New England. I mean, there's A.J. Brown and no one in Tennessee. Yeah. But if you want to give it to the Titans by the time the playoffs roll around, I could see that. But offensive line, I think I would go New England. Front seven is maybe a draw. And secondary, I would go New England. So there's quite a few things that I would give to New England there. The Bills have been a little bit sketchy to me this year. Losing some games they shouldn't have lost. Jaguars, Steelers, playing some very, very easy teams, very simple schedule. When it comes down to it, I could see that Patriots defense giving Josh Allen trouble. I really could, the way Josh Allen has played a little bit inconsistent this year. So I think the Patriots have a really solid shot at making it out of the AFC. And I don't know if they make it out of the AFC, but I could see them in the AFC Championship game and winning some playoff games for sure with that experience.
Yeah, it's definitely not unfeasible or it's totally not out of the picture. Again, it's just like at some point, a team is going to figure out how to give Mac Jones a hard time, right? We talk about Mac Jones, a game manager. You find a way to give these game managers a hard time. All of a sudden, they struggle to manage it a little bit.
And Tom Brady won the Super Bowl last year.
Okay, and is Mac Jones Tom Brady? Or is that what we're saying now?
No, he's not. I'm
don't look at me like that, Theo.
I'm kind of pulling you like
Brady.
that.
Come on.
Tom Brady fans, don't harass me too much online. I'm mostly kidding.
Tom Brady fans know that. Patriots fans know Mac Jones isn't Tom Brady. It's no secret here. But at some point, a team is going to find a way to give him trouble, and he doesn't have the assets that. And when I say assets, I mean physical traits that Lamar, Allen, Herbert, Kyler, I guess Kyler's NFC, but you know what I mean? These of all these quarterbacks that are playing at a high level, Mac Jones does not have the traits to get him out of a sticky situation. And I think that's just going to come down, and that might be a bigger hindrance than we may be looking at. The defense is phenomenal. It really is. It absolutely messed up the Browns. But trust as a Browns fan, I've dealt with this sticky quarterback situation before. It doesn't end well.
This is the part where I have to judge it.
I think so.
If you're ready.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm sorry.
Matt's like lost in the sauce.
Matt, I'll Venmo you $5.
So Theo had a
Venmo you
much
20.
stronger argument at first, but no. Yeah, I'd probably go with Theo.
Ray.
I think the one thing for me would be like, oh, well, someone's going to figure out how to get Mac Jones in trouble, but then you like list other quarterbacks who were also got in trouble in the playoffs and lost games because of it, like Lamar and Josh Allen. I think I guess I kind of think that the Patriots are legit contenders because the AFC is so wide open. So it's like kind of tough to debate against. Because in the NFL, you can debate almost any team in the playoffs is gonna make a run like that. You know, it's like you need to win like 2 games, and then you're a legit contender in the AFC in the playoffs. So
I mean, 2 weeks ago,
I'll give that one to Theo. But I do agree with a lot of your points, Blade.
I'm 0-2. This is like
much like the Browns.
My villain arc. Like,
he's been watching too much Browns football.
Honestly, it's like I just realized I just based both of my arguments off of like me being a Browns fan. Too much bias. Got to like get back in the film room. That's all
it does. Well, if you were being like a real Browns fan, what you would have been is like, oh yeah, the Patriots are obviously like the best team in the league.
Right.
Look how much they beat the Browns by.
Yeah, clearly.
Listen, man, that tweet, my pinned tweet stays up. We're winning the Super Bowl. Like,
hey, if it happens, no one will ever doubt that you doubted.
I never did.
You didn't.
All right. Well,
does that mean we go to our third one?
Yes, and between Matt and Theo, if you had to decide on the NBA MVP, you had to give a vote right this second, who would get your vote?
I guess I'll go first then if we're going to stare each other down.
Yeah, you got to start first.
I will go with the current frontrunner, the odds-on favorite, the guy who just tonight willed the Golden State Warriors to victory against the Cleveland Cavaliers by going nuclear with 9 threes and 40 points, Steph Curry. Look, Steph Curry is in a year where a lot of the ball-dominant guards have struggled, whether that be Lillard, Harden, the Lakers with Westbrook, even De'Aaron Fox a little bit. A lot of guards are kind of down this year because of the new rules. Curry has blown all of that out of the water because of his both on-ball and off-ball ability. And I think that's especially valuable this year when a lot of guards aren't really their usual selves, a lot of the dominant guards. He's currently leading the league in scoring. The Warriors are top 3 in offensive rating. And if you took Curry away from that, who is their leading scorer? Like, who is their offensive guy? Poole? Wiggins? Like, they would go from top 3 to probably bottom 3 in offensive efficiency if Curry was off that team. They are the best team in the league right now. And you could definitely make an argument, as I know you're going to do, Matt, for Jokic. And Jokic, if on an analytical standpoint, is going to have probably a better numbers, better, advanced stats. But if MVP always went to the guy with better advanced stats, Harden would have like 4 in the last 6 years or something like that. They don't always give it to the guy. That's not always the guy who wins MVP is. Like, look at win shares. It usually goes to the dude on the best team doing the coolest shit. And Steph Curry is going nuclear every night, getting MVP chance at away stadiums in front of the guys he's torching. Like, he is having the most impressive season to me. He's going crazy. He is willing those Warriors to the best record in the league. And if I had an MVP vote, that is who I would give it to.
I feel you. The away teams that he is getting MVP chance at is the Nets, which they don't have very many fans. That doesn't count. But I see what you're saying. I feel like, don't get me wrong, Curry is playing super great. I think he's going to win MVP. I feel pretty confident about that unless he gets hurt or something. But if I had to vote right now, I'd go to Jokic. And it's not because he's on the best team doing the coolest stuff. It's because I just think he's the most valuable player right now. And I wonder if when it gets time for the NFL MVP award, if you're actually going to go with just the best player on the best team doing the coolest stuff. or if you're going to go with the guy who you think's been the most valuable.
Right now, looking at like tonight's Kyler. Anyway,
looking at like tonight's game, for example, a lot of it falls on Curry, and I don't want to make this argument like Curry isn't valuable or like downplaying Curry, but the Warriors coming back wasn't one-sided. It wasn't one thing. It was he went off, and the Cavs struggled to score. Like, yeah, the Warriors are top 3 in offensive rating. They're top 1 in defensive rating. And Curry's been great on defense, but a point guard, Curry is not what's making that defense fantastic. Curry has a wildly, wildly better supporting cast than what Jokic has right now. No Murray, no Michael Porter Jr., and Michael Porter Jr. had been playing like garbage. I mean, he's shooting like 20% from 3.
I think he's averaging like 9 points a game.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I don't know what happened to him. He's making me look real bad with like that. He's worth whatever contract you got to pay him because he's part of the future scheme or whatever. And that team still has like a winning record. We said as of right now, they're 9-5 right now. They're going to lose tonight, even though he's dropping like a 30-point triple double. But that team's second best player is Will Barton. I cannot imagine that putting Curry on the Nuggets instead of Jokic would make them like better. They'd maybe be a wildly different team, and I guess they're not built for Curry, so that's unfair.
Yeah, that's the same thing with if you put Jokic on the Warriors. I'm not sure if it would be the same.
Yeah, but that team is top 3 in defensive rating right now. Jokic's big thing is that he isn't good on defense, and it's not true. He is. I know you don't want to use numbers, but you can't deny that he's having an impact on defense if he's number 1 in defensive rating, number 1 in defensive win shares. And I know advanced defensive stats are far from everything, but you can't possibly be a bad defender and have those numbers. It doesn't work like that. The way I look at it is, I mean, if Jokic wasn't on this team, I can't even imagine how bad they would be. I think the impact he's had on the Nuggets is next to none. He's the whole offense. He's the whole and he's a huge part of the defense too. Curry is a big part of that, but at least that team is good defensively with or without him. I can't imagine any other player making the Nuggets as good as they are now, like Jokic is. So I think he's the most valuable player to his team.
Well, Jokic did get suspended for that one game, and they did win that game. So it's not like they can't win without Jokic.
That's a one-game sample size, Theo Ash, coming out here.
Hey, it's every time sample size. Every time Jokic has been out this year.
Every time. Yeah,
every time.
Theo had an opportunity to respond to Matt's argument, and his one choice of response was a single suspension game.
Well, that's all I can say is like, oh, they would be so garbage. They'd be the worst team in the league without Jokic. They were without Jokic, and they won the game. Look, Barton has been playing pretty well this year. MPJ, I mean, he's been horrible this year. I can't deny it. But hypothetically, like going forward, he should be better than anyone else on the Warriors, not named Steph Curry. But he hasn't been this year, I will say that. But they did win their one game without Jokic. So just saying, they can win without Jokic. That has been shown at least one time this year. Every time this year.
Well, I suppose it's time for me to
the every time sample
pick
size.
A winner. And honestly, Matt played to his audience. I hate best player on best team. I hate that the MVP works like that in like real life. But in this like make-believe world of Stay Hot Spar, I got to pick Matt. If this were like the MVP voting committee, I would pick Theo. But like Matt's right. If
you're blatant, you gotta do what blatant thinks. You are blatant.
Yeah. I'm like, better at getting into blatant.
It's the same thing of like Lamar. Like if you took Lamar off the Ravens, they would be so bad.
That's like not a bad comparison for it. It's like like calling Lamar Jackson
not like MVP right now, maybe, but like 2-3 weeks ago, yes.
Like, yeah, except Jokic doesn't have the bad games ever, and he also has like the best numbers too.
Jokic is a monster, but you know, Matt, it's a good case. It's a very good case.
It's a great case.
It's going to Curry. Can you imagine like if the season ended right now and they gave it to Jokic instead of Curry? Like it just isn't going to happen.
Jokic isn't even second in line for the award.
No, I was looking it up on Twitter today because I was prepping for this segment. I'm like, what is the online dialogue around MVP? And it's like number 1 Curry, Number 2, Durant. Number 3, Paul George. Number 4, DeMar DeRozan. Number 5, Jokic. Like, I saw multiple people put DeRozan ahead
DeMar
of
DeRozan above
and
Jokic?
DeMar is falling. DeMar DeRozan is going off.
Nah.
But he's
Even
not
I
the
know
most
that.
valuable
Come on.
player in the league.
Right.
I will say, like, I don't mind people having Curry as MVP though. There's a real, I mean, like, dude, he's playing ridiculous. But I think it'll be. It's a little valid that, you know, last year he kind of didn't have a shot at it because his team was so bad. So now his team being better, I guess that shouldn't be counted against them too much. I don't know. If he keeps playing like this, it's just going to be too cool, and they'll give him the MVP. And he's playing at a high MVP level, so I can't really complain. Plus, you know, they gave Jokic his flowers last year.
Well, that wraps up the Stay Hot Spar, and it takes us in to our NFL Week 11 preview. And, you know, it's an interesting week. We haven't picked our locks yet. Well, I have. I've picked my locks. Matt and Theo haven't picked their locks yet.
Not yet.
But I don't know. You know, I look at the Browns. They played the Lions. And that
There's
should be a
lot
free
of
win.
games that could go either way
scared.
this week.
Like here's the thing, right? If the Browns lose to the Lions, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't
Are you going to
know
unpin? Will you unpin your tweet if the Browns lose to the Lions?
You can't do it, man.
No.
Because then what if you unpinned it?
I won't. I will not.
Okay. The Browns will beat the Lions, Bladen. Trust me. They'll beat the Lions.
I know. I'm
how could you
them.
lose to the Lions?
I'm locking the Browns. So
I'm locking the Browns, and it's on the principle that not only do I think the Browns will win, but if they don't, that'd be really funny. So I can't.
That's how I felt about the locks the last couple of weeks, because we haven't gotten points in a long time.
Oh no,
None of us have gotten points in a long time.
Theo,
but I don't even care.
You mentioned at one point that you have a better record like picking upsets than you do picking locks. That's got to be like on the moon at this point. It's got to be like wild. The gap has to be insane.
And it's always like one thing, and I don't even feel bad about it because the upsets are just so insane that I can't even be like, oh, I'm so dumb. Like last week, I picked 4 teams, and like the 3 kind of sketchy teams I all got right. But then there was the Washington over Buccaneers game, and it's like Washington beating the Buccaneers is so cool. I don't even care that I lost the lock, or like the Jaguars beating the Bills. It's like,
yeah,
I appreciate just the momentous occasion that this is. Like, how could I have known? So that's the thing with locks, but we need to get some points on the board here pretty soon.
Well, if the Browns lose to the Lions, I will not appreciate the occasion. No,
I'll appreciate.
I'm sorry.
Me and Matt will appreciate it enough.
I will.
For all 3 of us.
Matt plays for the Lions. He better appreciate it.
Right, Matt.
Oh yeah, I'll take credit.
You
also have to take credit to their winless record that you got drafted there and haven't contributed at all, and now look at them. A lot of this is on you. But yes, this is a very good week of football. I'm excited for most of the games. I was looking at my upset picks, and I'm like, all these games are, you know, real close. Like I could see this going either way on a lot of these. So I didn't feel great about any of my upsets because there were just other games where I was like, I don't want to pick the wrong ones because so many of these could be upsets.
I like you upsetting Dallas. Or picking Dallas over Kansas
Dallas
City.
over the Chiefs. And let's talk about that one because I think that's the best game of the week is Chiefs versus Dallas. And I guess this is, could be a top AFC. This could be a Super Bowl preview, honestly. I mean, we talk about the Chiefs got right last week. So I guess my question would be, do you guys think that'll continue to be going forward? Like, how do you guys feel about the Chiefs?
I think their offense is still really good.
It is.
But their defense is probably still like, I think that's kind of like my take. And the Cowboys are a really good team, so it's going to be up to the offense to put up a ridiculous amount of points because they're not going to stop the Cowboys offense. And you just are kind of betting on who has the ball last there. They're like still the Chiefs, but they still.
My biggest concern would be like if Mahomes gets a little too greedy, trying to get stuff like crossbody, crazy downfield throws, and Trayvon Diggs just comes in and does his ball hawking stuff because that's what Diggs is looking for. That's the kind of stuff that Diggs wants. And And sometimes it bites him, but like honestly, sometimes it could bite Mahomes. And I could see it coming down to like if Diggs gets a couple interceptions or a pick six, like that would be a huge swing in the game. But otherwise, it might just go back and forth.
One thing I would caution with the Mahomes dialogue is like this idea that he needs to stop with the cross-body stuff where he does that too much.
No, I mean, he's the best in the world at it.
He is. But that's just, I'm not saying like you, Blake, but like just in general, there's like a lot of like, oh, Mahomes just bails. He just playground. He needs to be a pocket presence quarterback more. I don't think he does. Like, yes, he has thrown a lot of picks this year, but a lot of those were unfortunate. They were. A lot of those were not unfortunate, but there's a lot of, bounces off the face mask, bounces off the hands. He could maybe turn it back a little bit, like be a little bit less panicky in the pocket or bail out a little bit less. But Mahomes this whole time, what he should not do is try to be someone he's not or try to completely change his play style that's gotten him, all these accolades through a couple of years. So that's one thing about Mahomes is I kind of disregard anybody saying like, oh, after it doesn't work for like 3 games, after it works for like 3 seasons, they're like, that's a bad style for Mahomes to play.
And
go ahead, Matt.
Their defense has been not letting up points recently, and I it's a little hard to know how much of that is just like the teams they played. And it's like, they got a Jordan Love game in there and
Daniel Jones.
Blah, blah, blah.
My guess is it's a substantially kind of a teams they play game. I think that I take a lot of stuff.
But man, I look at the rest of their schedule. They don't play another team with a losing record.
Yeah.
That's brutal. They play one team that's 500 and then every other team is a winning record. Or I guess they play one team twice with the Broncos, but it's tough. I am interested to see if Diggs can get one. I do kind of think this seems like the type of game where the Chiefs receiver is going to drop something and then Diggs will get it because they've been
opportunistic pick six
picks. Yeah. I agree with you there, but
I look at Cowboys versus Chiefs, and again, I go by my units. Quarterback, I would still go Chiefs, but it's not a huge advantage. Dak is very good. But quarterback, Chiefs. Skill position players, I might go Cowboys. I mean, they've got the better run game. They've got the actual reliable running backs, what the Chiefs don't have. And they've got a deeper wide receiving core. So I might go, that might be a tie.
Are you including O-line, Kelsey and weapons?
Yeah, I am. Kelsey and Hill versus Cooper, Lamb, and they've got some other good depth wide receivers. Gallup is back. I think it might be a draw, and I might border on favoring the Cowboys because of the Chiefs running backs just stink. O-line, I would give Cowboys pretty easily. Front 7, I would give Cowboys, and secondary, I would give Cowboys. So you could make the argument that like 4 out of the 5 units on the field is Cowboys, and the quarterback is close. Coaching, I would give Chiefs by a decent margin, but Kellen Moore is a really good offensive coordinator. So I think the Cowboys are better than Chiefs right now. So I think the Cowboys win this game, even though the Chiefs are favored. I think the Cowboys really cement themselves as contenders this week.
Not a bad take.
What was your other upset?
It was Saints over Eagles, which is a game I guess we could go over, but
that doesn't even.
Hurts played really well last week. How about this? Hurts last week played really, really well. Hurts last week, really good quarterback. We'll see
what's going to happen with him after this season.
Oh, he's going to turn into the greatest quarterback of all time. We've been known. Come on.
I feel like this is a very pro Hurts podcast.
I don't know. I think that he is sort of bad. I don't know. I liked him a lot coming out of school.
I thought about something. This is completely unrelated, but I just thought about it. Theo, you know how you said like you never ever apologize for takes? Like you don't ever want to again?
I don't ever want to again.
Now I think about like all your takes like backdoor covering, where like it looks like you're going to be wrong, but then you end up being right. I'd like to see Felipe Franks turn out to be fantastic.
That would be my best take. The Browns should have
drafted Felipe Franks in the second round. Take ends up being correct because he ends up actually being like a huge star undrafted free agent.
if he already the Baker drafting someone in the wings that to have in the wings, so you don't absolutely have to pay Baker, is aging pretty well right now. Now that quarterback being Felipe Franks is not aging super well, considering that he went undrafted and is now behind the terrible Josh Rosen on the depth chart. But that is one that I'm definitely keeping a pretty strong eye on, because if that one ends up backdoor covering, no one can tell me shit the rest of my life, because that take was insane.
There'll be multiple TikToks made about that.
Yes, there definitely will.
You'll be on,
I was disappointed he
ESPN,
didn't get in the game last week or this week.
Jalen Hurts. I'm a big Jalen Hurts fan. I was also a big Jalen Hurts fan when he came out of school. I've been a big Jalen Hurts fan since he was a freshman, actually. But, I digress there. I'm surprised that the Saints are underdogs in that game. I get it's at Philly.
I just don't trust that offense. I think that's why they have them as dogs.
Yeah, Simeon throwing to Callaway and Harris. It is, and Troutman and Kamara's questionable. I do get it. And the Eagles have been playing very competently. They played the Chargers close, and the Chargers aren't that good, so maybe that's not the biggest achievement in the world. But they
played the Titans tough.
They played the Titans stuff. They had a big win against a bad team. The Lions. They had that huge win against the Lions. And then they just beat the Denver Broncos pretty convincingly. So they've been on a run of some decent play. The Saints are severely sapped of talent. So I get them being favorites, but I do think that the Saints have also not played all that horrible recently.
No, that's who I meant. Played the Titans
yeah.
The Saints.
Yeah.
I'm dumb. Yeah, I don't know. This might be. I thought Simeon was kind of he's kind of dealing a little bit.
He is a little bit. Doing okay. He's not that bad. He's a little bit. And the Eagles, they play a lot of zone, not a lot of man coverage. And what you don't want if you're the Saints,
throwing for 300.
Yeah, if you don't want if you're the Saints is a team that plays a ton of man, because teams that play a lot of man can lock up those wide receivers pretty easily. Yeah. You'd rather get a zone team where you can hit some underneath stuff.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Has Darius Slay ever really starred in a man coverage system? I thought he was always a big zone guy.
I don't know enough about. I wasn't paying enough attention when he was on the Lions to know if he was severely.
I was
man.
Just thinking I always thought he was
kind of locked down, if I remember correctly. I don't know though. I'm trying to think.
Lions fans got to let us know. Lions fans got to let us know if
I think he was pretty good in man on the Lions. He was pretty good at everything on the Lions. He was an elite corner, and he's playing very well this year. He really is. So Slay, shout out Darius Slay. He's having a very good nice season.
Big play.
He's kind of given a washed label in the offseason. So I guess that game is just a strange game. That's our breakdown.
It is a strange game.
But the Saints kind of need to win it to stay in the playoff. If they
so
lose this
Eagles.
game, lose 3 in a row,
they're 4-6. You get to 5-6. You're in the hunt. If you're the Eagles,
for sure,
you're looking to get back in it. And if you're the Panthers, you're really looking to get in it. I'm pretty sure
we are in the playoffs.
You're already in it right now.
We control our own destiny. We play Washington, Falcons, Dolphins as our next 3 games. I know for a fact that Bank of America is going to be louder than maybe it has ever been on Sunday.
I can't believe you're not going.
Nuts. Tickets for that game are crazy expensive.
How
right
much?
Now. I have no idea, but
I'm gonna look right now.
I thought about going to it, but the problem is that UC plays Saturday in a big one against SMU last home game, so I got to go to that.
Panthers, Washington has the second lowest ticket price at $133. The highest is Cowboys-Chiefs at $267.
Imagine saying that a couple weeks ago, that the hottest ticket around would be the Panthers-Washington football team game.
And it's Ron's coming back. I mean, they're just, and Cam's starting, they're gonna go crazy. What's weird about this team is every aspect of the team played so much better against the Cardinals. It's Cam came back and they started playing better, but it doesn't even make sense. The offensive line was better, considerably better than they've been all year. Well, what could Cam Newton being in 10 plays possibly have to do with that? I don't know. But this is a very big game in Carolina Panthers history that's coming up. They absolutely must win. Or I'll be crushed personally. And I think they will. I feel good about it. I think the Panthers win.
I would feel good
I haven't
too.
felt confident in the Panthers in a very, very long time. I think they win.
Damn.
All right, well,
I
for your
also
sake, for your sake,
lately
Matt.
think that they win because I think that Heineke just is weird. I don't totally trust him. No Chase Young. I don't know Chase Young wasn't having a very good season, but still, his backup's probably not better than him. I do trust.
Not.
Yeah. I think the Panthers win, but it wouldn't surprise me if they lost. It would not surprise me if they
They're not far from some unbeatable team.
Yes.
But I also
is Cam
trust the
starting?
defense to
Have
give
they
Heineke-
announced that if he's going to be
starting.
Okay?
He's
So
starting.
he's the primary guy. Very very interesting.
Nice.
I do think the defense is going to give Heineke hell. I don't know what is McLaurin playing. Isn't he banged up?
I believe
So
he
they don't
is.
If they don't have McLaurin, they're in trouble because that defense is ridiculous.
Even if they
I also feel
right
like
now.
do you just put
I also
Gilmore on
fe-
him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Dante Jackson's not horrible either. He's a pretty good corner as well. He had a big
Also
game
just
last
double
week.
him.
Everyone
And
had
they're
a big
loaded.
game
And
last
you know who deserves some respect that you were meh about the signing of? Hassan Reddick has been balling.
Yes.
He is so good. Oh my God.
I wasn't mad at the signing. I said it wasn't quite the steal that people thought it was because people were like, oh my God, I can't believe you got Hassan Reddick for that low. And I was like, well, look at the pressure. Pressures are a better number to look at than sacks. He didn't get all that much pressure last year. So it's probably a fair deal more than a steal. It was a steal. He's been excellent this year. So I was wrong. That I will apologize for. Hassan Reddick is very legit. That I will apologize for. Sorry.
I forgive you.
he's
All right.
been forgiven. Lovely. Now, I thought about, we could talk about bottom of the barrel games, Jets versus Dolphins. But I thought Theo would
could.
rather
Not.
enjoy talking about his Packers playing the Minnesota Vikings.
Whenever the prop opens, Dalvin Cook rushing yards, I'm going to take the over. Rodgers hasn't practiced because of this toe injury that he has. I don't know how he hurt his toe. He was literally in quarantine. But he played last week with it, so I assume it's not the hugest deal, but it's just a little bit concerning. I don't have much to say about it other than I don't totally trust the defensive line against the run. Even still, who did we play last week? It was the Seahawks, and they threw the ball 50 plus times. The Chiefs can't run the football.
Seattle kind of
The
sucks
defense-
at running the football, so
They do. The defense has been lights out for the Packers the last couple of weeks. They have, but they haven't really played a team. They played a lot of one-dimensional teams, and Mahomes is in a slump, and Russell Wilson was just coming back. The defense seems a little bit too good to be true for me right now. And I think we're going to get a little bit of a splash of cold water against a team that's a little bit more balanced, like the Vikings. So that's my thoughts on this game. I think it could go either way. We lost to the Vikings last year because Dalvin Cook it just went crazy on us, had like 200 yards or something. I could definitely see a repeat of that happening again. There's some numbers where like against light box, like something about boxes and like how the Packers allow so many rushing yards when they're in this certain look and they're in this look a lot. And that has not been able to be exploited recently for them. Very good pass defense though, even without Jair. Stokes has been balling, which is another, I say I never apologize. I might have to apologize to Stokes too, because I had a low grade on him, but I don't have much to say on that game. Otherwise, I'm very interested in the defense. I'm very interested in the defense against a running team because they've looked good against these very pass-heavy teams. But against a run-heavy team, I'm interested to see how they look.
it's not like they don't have weapons to throw to.
No, it is not.
It'll
Justin
be a tough
Jefferson.
game for you guys. I don't know.
It will be. It would not surprise me at all if we lost. I'm not super comfortable.
You're only favored by a
confident
point
in
and a
the
half.
Packers.
Point and a half. So
Yes.
I don't know.
The
So
other
kinda
game that
surprised you
interests
didn't
me-
bet. Not going to bet on that upset game. You always bet against your team.
I thought about it. It's not quite one and a half points is getting to be a little bit too much of a toss up for me to be like, it's that to me,
Yeah.
2.5 and above is kind of where I'm at.
Okay.
The other game that interests me is Cardinals-Seahawks, because we don't know if Kyler's playing, and like the Seahawks really need to win a game.
You really need to win this game.
They don't want to be 3-7.
No, you don't.
That would be bad.
That would be bad.
Because I mean, I know we've talked about them like, oh, they can still make the playoffs. They just have to win one of these tough games, but they have to win one of the tough games if they want to do that. And they looked really rough against the Packers defense. And the Cardinals defense is also very strong. Now, if you're without Kyler, I don't know what the Colt McCoy status is because he got hurt in the Panthers game as well. But they might get lucky and get a Kyler-less Cardinals and get that as kind of their sneaky win that they need to start a run.
They're going to need it, but it looks like he's trending towards playing is what I'm seeing right now on the internet. It looks like he's going to play. And
so if Russ has got to be better.
He does. And now, if that happens, I'm interested in the Kyler MVP campaign, which I'm still on. And can that get back on track? Because if he plays a bad game, it maybe takes a backseat to someone like Dak Prescott or someone like that.
Here's the other,
and that'll be a big thing.
The Panthers were able to run the ball very well, especially having Cam back. They were able to, that first touchdown in the red zone, all Cam. Seattle can't run the ball. Mm-hmm. They're horrible at it. And maybe that's
Pete Carroll keeps saying like, "Oh, we got to establish the run more." But they just can't.
No, just run better. Just run. It's like, I don't know what you got to do. Scheme up better runs. Like maybe if you're only running zone, stop running zone. You're bad at it. Like I don't know what they're doing. I don't watch the Seahawks that much, but like, Jesus, man, I don't know.
I mean, part of it is the lack of talent. I mean, they're giving Travis Homer the ball.
You can figure something out. You have athleticism at quarterback. You can scheme up different things. Like, I don't know.
I guess. Yeah, I don't know. Their interior offensive line. Their interior offensive line is pretty light. If you remember the playoff game, Aaron Donald just kind of bullied them and threw them around, and they haven't made a ton of upgrades in that area. Dwayne Brown is having kind of an down year. He was someone where Russell Wilson before the season when he was disgruntled with the offensive line is like, if we don't lock up Dwayne Brown, I'm going to kill myself is pretty much what he said. And Dwayne Brown has not been playing all that great this year. So it's a lot of things. Not a ton of talent at running back. Not a great offensive line. Their best guy kind of having a down
Russell
year.
Russell Wilson is always wrong.
Always wrong.
Always wrong. He wanted Dwayne Brown.
All right,
he's not good this year. No, but
let's go into the NBA.
Let's go into let's talk about the hottest teams in the NBA.
We're talking about hot teams. So I'm
in particular, not the games. Cleveland Cavaliers.
Hottest team is the Charlotte Hornets. Oubre, LaMelo Ball. Yeah. Some really good looking guys there.
No, I looked this up, right? So I was looking at last 10 games to see who has a good record. There's only 4 teams who have a record better than 6-4 in their last 10 games. I feel like that's kind of a weird stat, but it's the LA Clippers, the Brooklyn Nets, your Phoenix Suns, and then Golden State. Those are the only 4 teams who are like really red hot, and they're on a 10-game win streak. Quietly. They're not getting talked about. The Suns are getting no coverage right now.
Jesus.
People are bored of them. But that was a very predictable, like, people are kind of like down on them for no reason, but they're still the exact same team that just made the finals. They could be the 1 seed this year. And they're kind of just doing their thing. So maybe that's why no one's talking about them. There's nothing new to say. What do you think, Theo?
Yeah, Matt, you said the Suns are the exact same team they were last year, and that is, largely true, but I think they're even a little bit better because JaVale McGee is an upgrade over Dario Saric as the backup big man, and through this winning streak, really, Ayton has been out for a lot of it, and JaVale McGee, as he's done so many times in his career, has just stepped in and been a solid center, and they've been able to overcome the loss of DeAndre Ayton, which is very interesting considering his contact situation, and he's getting replaced by JaVale McGee, but I digress. He's been a really good addition, and Abdul Nader, right, has been a really solid guy off the bench. He's poured in some big scoring performances during the streak. So it's largely the same, but they've made some upgrades. And they made the finals last year. The Lakers aren't the big scary anymore. They could certainly beat the Jazz in a series. They can certainly beat any team in a series in the West. Warriors, I guess, are the big scary now. That would be tough. But the Suns could, beat anyone. And I think a lot of people kind of looked at them and said, that's a lucky finals run. We're never going to hear from them again. It's going to be like maybe the bubble Heat, like just kind of a one-time bad villain. And then they're going to fade into obscurity. The Suns are super solid, man. And they could piled up the again. Wins. Yeah. They could. They really could. And I don't know if I'd call Booker or Chris Paul maybe a top 15 player in the NBA right now, but they might be number like 16 and then number 17 respectively. Like they're two top 25 players. I would maybe say that. So, and they're really deep. There's no weakness. Everyone is good. There's no one even Kaminsky's good this year. He had like a 31-point game the other night. Yeah,
I saw that. As a Hornets
so he
fan,
was like the one guy where I was like, oh my God, it's Kaminsky. And now I don't even feel like that with him. There's just not really a guy who I look at and he sucks, Campaign, awesome off the bench. Love Campaign, Nader, Kaminsky, JaVale. The starting five is all solid. No weaknesses on the Suns team. And it is very, very rare to find a team like that.
The age-old question of would you rather have a superstar or just a bunch of really good players? This is a pretty interesting test right here.
You'd rather have a bunch of really good players. You would rather have a bunch of really good players. Steph Curry did not make the playoffs last year. You'd rather have a bunch of really good players.
Steph Curry, there's a balance to it. They don't have a superstar, but they've got stars. They've got multiple guys who are probably going to be all stars. But it's just a kind of a weird hierarchy on that team, I feel like is the way to put it. The other team that I really wanted to talk about is the Los Angeles Clippers, because we were a little low on them going into the season. But Paul George is doing what a lot of people expected Paul George to do, which is kind of have an MVP level season. My prediction for him is that people will say he should be getting more attention for MVP. Why isn't he? He's having an MVP level season. But nobody will actually I don't think he'll quite actually get to the point where people will pick him for their MVP outside of maybe some rogue Clippers fans. I feel like he's kind of in that fifth category, and he'll get rewarded with a first team All NBA possibly if he keeps playing like this. But what he's been doing for that team and what Reggie Jackson's also been playing really, really well. That ended up not being a fluke, and he's fit in really well there. Yeah, has made the Clippers still a very competitive team.
For sure. And Paul George operating as a 1 seems to be a little bit better than Paul George operating as a 2. And it's very interesting when he kind of controls the offense and gets to, dribble to his spots and where he wants to go. He just fits that role better. And when you lose a player like Kawhi, probably a top 6-7 player in the NBA, you'd think they've got to get way worse. But when the fit for Paul George gets that much better, it's almost like the drop-off isn't even there. It's been really interesting to watch. And yeah, he deserves to be first-team All-NBA, but to argue that he's been better than Curry or Jokic so far, it's really difficult to do. It's a very tough one to make. And maybe some Kendrick Perkins type guy on ESPN will make the argument, and they sell their soul for it. But it is a really tough one to
be
make.
Made. There's some points to be made with him, but I just don't think you can quite put it together. I wonder if it's really that Paul George struggles as a second option, or if he was a second option, or maybe he wasn't even the second option to Russell Westbrook, and that's a tough fit. And then I feel like a lot of the Clippers' problems, especially in year 1 with Kawhi and Paul George, were they didn't know what to do with Paul George when he didn't have the ball as much. There'd be he would be too much just spot up shooting from him, I felt like at times. So I feel like almost not having Kawhi, one of the problems is how exactly do they play off each other? And all of a sudden you don't have to deal with that, and Paul George can do everything that he wants to do. So that's definitely helped him look a little bit more like the best version of himself.
And he's been an MVP candidate before. He was third in voting a couple years ago.
I mean, he was an MVP candidate, with Westbrook. So maybe it wasn't even really fair to say that he struggled then. But You saw what he did in the playoffs when Kawhi went out. He's kind of continuing the same stuff.
Yeah, no, he's been lights out, crazy, out of this world good. And when we did our MVP argument, Matt, at first I was like, well, maybe I can argue for Paul George. And as I looked at it, I'm like, this is not an argument I can really feel great making over Curry and Jokic. But he's someone that I definitely considered when I was looking at my MVP guys. So yeah, that's a team that I expected to kind of struggle because I didn't think Paul George maybe could carry like this, but he is carrying like this, and it's been super impressive to watch. His shot creating, I mean, in the playoffs against the Suns, there were some games where him and Booker and Chris Paul got in on the action too, where the shot making was just crazy. The stuff that they were hitting.
Yeah, he's good at running an offense.
Yeah, he's so good.
My thing about that with the shot creating and whatnot, and like guys who can really hit shots, like you'll hear people make fun of bag Twitter or whatever. And it's like, oh, these guys don't care about hezzy tween, but like guys who have a big, bag and can do a lot of different things to get themselves open and hit shots, like those are the good players.
Yes.
Those people, like, I know it's like, that's kind of like the ball is life type people or whatever. Like they're right. Yes. And Paul George is a good example of that.
Wasn't it Kobe that said like the more things you can do, the harder it is for someone to guard you? Wasn't that Kobe?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's talking about Durant when talking about going off your right hand, your left hand. Durant can do it all. And Durant's someone else who could be in the MVP argument, and the Nets are very good even without Kyrie and with Harden and even struggling a little bit with the new rules. But Durant's been.
I hate to say it. James Harden recently has not been that fun to watch. It's just
recently.
I mean, I guess not even just recently, but I watched it.
I've loved James Harden for a long time. That's my guy.
Stood up and I was like, no, the foul rules will not hurt him that bad, or maybe it'll take him a couple games to. No, I really think it's affected him a little bit. It's definitely bothering him a little bit.
Yeah,
and I think part of it is sometimes he's not getting the calls, but I just haven't enjoyed watching a guy. It does really feel like he's. Sometimes he's driving with no intention of trying to actually get the ball in the hoop, and that's no fun. You can tell.
Yeah.
I'd love to slander Harden, but hey, he's an Arizona State graduate. James Harden, if you're listening, Matt is all wrong. Forks up, James. We love you here in Tempe.
I usually am a pretty big Harden
I was
defender,
watching Warriors Nets a couple of days ago, and at first, like it started off, I was like, wow, these two teams are so much fun to watch. Just like Durant hits a bucket, Curry comes back, hits a three from the low. Like just the sheer offensive firepower of both teams was incredible. And then at a certain point, Golden State just started to pull away. And it was
Durant went 0 for 8 in the fourth quarter of that game.
Yeah, and it felt like I couldn't quite tell if it was like the Warriors were just so good defensively that they shut down Kevin Durant. And I'm like, Kevin Durant doesn't seem like someone you just stop. Maybe you slow down. You don't really stop Kevin Durant.
That Warriors defense is brutal. They play like playoff level intensity a lot. Not all the time, but a lot.
And I think
Draymond Green is
Draymond, yeah.
He is so underrated, I feel like. I mean, he's not, but he'd be Depoy if I had to vote for one right now.
Really?
And we talked about this earlier. Big reason why the Warriors are so good right now is Curry. Main reason. But you also got to credit how good that defense is.
Yeah.
And you also got to credit Draymond for that.
Yeah. And mentality. I mean, Draymond and Curry have done this a million times before, and they just bring that into, especially Draymond and Curry. They're just very well structured, and when you're a young guy coming in there, you're like, oh my God, I'm on the Golden State Warriors and I got Draymond yelling at me that I need to do this right. So I got to do it right. And then you get in some athletic freaks like Wiggins, who's turned into a very, very good defender with that fire under him and that spark that the higher ups on the Warriors have lit under this whole team. It's pretty special to watch everyone operate.
Yeah.
So yes, Draymond has been incredibly valuable, and I think his just kind of mindset has also helped everyone on that team, which won't show up in any box score. But yeah, I think
am I wrong for saying that at one point Draymond was like super hated?
No,
like one of the
you're
most
probably not super wrong for that because he was kind of a dirty. He
But
got the
I
dirty
feel like
player
I've
representation,
never-
which is deserved. He was
even during like the Warriors dynasty. Like I'm a Cavs fan. I never disliked Draymond Green. I'm like, that dude's like a superstar on defense. Like, how can you hate that guy?
I mean,
like,
I was a LeBron fan, so I did my duty and I disliked him as I needed to.
disliking the Warriors, I get, but like disliking like individual players.
Once the whole Cavs Warriors thing like really ended, I think people started to appreciate Draymond for what he brought to that Warriors defense more and more. Because I feel like part of the reputation with being a dirty player is kind of being like a dummy. And Draymond Green is far from that with how he controlled the defense. So those kind of two things clash. And then when people realize, he is such a good leader defensively, that people sort of forgot about it.
I got annoyed with Draymond this offseason. I got in a fight that prime Carmelo Anthony is better than prime Draymond Green, which I still think is a silly thing to argue, but a lot of people were fighting me on that because of advanced analytics, which Draymond was very good at.
I think it's an interesting debate. It's stupid. You're only asking what is more valuable. You're not even debating like how good the players are. I'd say you got to go prime Melo because you're talking about a number one for a team.
I was about to say it might be the next episode of Stay Hot Spar.
I'm just saying, look, if Draymond Green got drafted by the Orlando Magic, this is not a debate. Like Draymond Green, his reputation stems so much from being surrounded by Curry and Clay and Durant.
It's very true.
Not taking anything away from Draymond defensively, but you stick him in Sacramento, and he is just someone who people point to as like a very underrated guy who's never been an all-star. You put him in Golden State and in the spotlight, and you get all the lights on him, and people can really appreciate what he does. And then people will be like, "Oh my God, you need him to win a championship." Melo is a guy you can put him anywhere. Prime Melo, you could put him in, doesn't matter where. He is going to put up, points and numbers, and it doesn't matter where he goes. He's going to elevate that team. He's going to be an all-star. He's going to be all these things, no matter where it goes. Draymond needed to be on the Warriors to be held in the regard that he is. I don't think that's the case with Carmelo.
If you're asking about just like standing out as maybe we shouldn't get into this. I'm just saying like, I feel like you're arguing now that it's just like almost like movie star status as opposed to, again, like being a better basketball player. Mm-hmm. It's like,
I mean, Draymond has the rings. Draymond's more efficient. Draymond has the impact on defense. I'm more just thinking like
Melo, you're like, well, Melo could go anywhere and he would be recognized as a star. Yeah, because like scoring pops out more than like being one of the most lockdown defenders of the past decade.
Well, this is where people get into like floor raising versus ceiling raising, and I hate those words so much because people act like somebody like Carmelo Anthony can't also be a ceiling raiser for a championship team when he could be. But I agree. I feel like that's a good assessment because we saw what a Draymond Green led Warriors team looked like, and it wasn't good.
No, it wasn't good. Yeah. Triple single Draymond Green is not better than prime Carmelo Anthony.
I can see where there's spots where you would be like, you know what, maybe this team would be better off with Draymond over Carmelo Anthony.
Right.
Like if you were to add one of those two players to the Brooklyn Nets right now, prime Draymond Green or prime Carmelo Anthony, you could make an argument for prime Draymond.
You would. Yeah, no, you definitely could. But that doesn't make him a we talked about bag Twitter earlier, and it's like people argue it, and it's like, oh, this is silly. The most valuable thing that you can do is score from a variety of body angles and creating your own shot. Yeah. That is the most valuable thing you could do. You can say Draymond is better at everything else, but if you are that much better at scoring, that makes you the better basketball player.
If it's a team shooting.
Like Golden State and you have Durant and Curry and Klay Thompson and you already have all these guys, you don't need a fourth guy like that. You'd rather have a defensive stopper. But for 99% of the teams in the league, you'd rather have Carmelo. This is not at all what we were talking about. This is just a side quest now. But
Yeah, I don't remember where we were or how we got here.
We were talking about teams that were hot, and we started talking about the Warriors because I don't know, but I enjoy the conversation. I enjoy the debate. I'm Team Carmelo, cool. And I couldn't believe that so many people were mad at me for that take.
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't get mad at you for it, but I could definitely like question it. But yeah, I think that kind of does wrap things up for us. The one thing I have to do, I said I would do it at the beginning, announce the 5 winners that we've picked, the 5 recent winners that we've picked for the Ed Sheeran Hat Giveaway. I think these are their YouTube account names. So I'm going to list off their account names here. We have David Ott with 2 T's, OTT, Crazy Sync, Kando Gaming 2486. Kando Gaming is one word. Nick Sadowy, and lastly, Comment Sense. Like not like.
Congratulations to Comment Sense.
Congrats.
Comments. Can I promo something
and as always,
of myself?
No. Yeah. What's up?
No, I got a comment. Tomorrow. I'm flying to LA, and I'm going on a TikTok live stream on Saturday, and they told me that TikTok is going to like promo it. I'm not sure because who knows if this will actually happen. But they were like, yeah, I don't know what TikTok's going to do to promo it, but I think it'll be on like the Discover page and everything. And they might ping. I was told they might like ping the app that there's this live stream happening. I don't know if that's like everyone, but at any rate,
that'd be kind of cool.
That would be kind of cool. On Saturday for 45 minutes, me and the comedian Jamel Johnson, who does NBA Storytime, me and Matt were on that one time, will be live on TikTok.
What time
will it be? Talking about sports conspiracies. What time will it be? I will tweet it out. I will tweet it out. But
I might tune in for
pay
that.
attention for
That'd
that.
be kind of cool.
Yes, no, sports conspiracies. So, why did Michael Jordan retire?
While we're throwing out like random live streams that we're doing, also on Saturday, mine's going to be.
I'm getting paid for this. This is official. This isn't some random live stream. TikTok ping the whole app.
On Saturday at 5 p.m. Eastern time, I'm going to be doing a radio telethon here at Miami University. Well, I'm going to be doing a segment on a 24-hour telethon from 5 to 6 p.m. Eastern time. If you guys want to call in during that time period from 5 to 6 p.m. Eastern time, call in on the Stay Hot line. I will be there live to do a live Q&A. It's something we've never done, so I thought I'd try it. I'll have the opportunity, so I went and did audio testing with them earlier. We're all set to do it. So call in, Stay Hotline, 614-349-8050. And while I'm on the topic of the Stay Hotline, make sure you guys also call in for the Stay Hot shoutouts. Theo told people to call in earlier if you're a Falcons fan, because they were going through it.
Felipe Franks, we talked about him earlier in the podcast, and unbeknownst to us, as we were talking about him and how he might be good, he came into the game and on one snap threw 1 interception. So not off to a great start. Felipe Franks.
Not off to a great start for the Felipe Franks narrative.
Hey, still, maybe that backdoor cover will end up happening.
But yes, call into the Stay Hot shoutouts, and we'll try and get your rant or your take on the episode. And as always, tons of content coming away on all platforms. Hopefully Theo's bets go through. And as always, from Gambling Addiction Boy, Corn Boy, and Lemon Boy, we will catch you all on the flippity flop.